Hi, everyone. I'm attorney Donna DiMaggio Berger, and this is Take It to the Board, where we speak condo and HOA.
They're creepy and they're kooky, mysterious and spooky.
With Halloween right around the corner, we're going to be peeking into the spookier corners of community association life today. I'm talking about the creepy crawlies that make residents shiver and board members squirm. Cockroaches, ants, silverfish, spiders, centipedes, millipedes, bed bugs, fleas, ticks, termites, dust mites, mosquitoes, lizards, geckos, wasps and hornets, drain flies, and finally rats and mice, maybe even some bats. In a multifamily building, if pest control isn't diligently undertaken, those little infestations can grow into full-blown nightmares for everyone. In an HOA with attached, semi-detached, or even single-family homes, ghostly termite trails and ghoulish rodent invasions can create huge problems for residents. In today's episode, we are going to separate fact from fright and help communities keep their homes safe from unwanted pests. My guest today is Dee Smith from NatureZone, a family-owned and operated pest control company. Dee started in the pest control industry 38 years ago and has handled all aspects of the process. Today, she remains active when it comes to solving pest issues for NatureZone clients, and she regularly tests new products to see if they can compare to the tried and true methods. There are aspects of this episode that do send chills down my spine, I'm going to be honest. So hopefully Dee can give me some comfort on what can be done to force those pests to move away from your home sweet home. All right, let's get ready to face what's really lurking behind the walls in your home or condo unit. Dee, welcome to Take It to the Board.
Well, thank you, Donna. Nice to talk to you.
So in the intro, I ran through a pretty exhaustive list of creepy crawly pests we routinely hear about in homes and multifamily condo and co-op units. Did I miss any?
Oh, yes. We have frogs. We have raccoons. We have possums. I've actually pulled a duck out of a commercial building in the attic.
You know, I had a duck in my fireplace one time. Something was and it came down. Thank God I had one of those fireplace screens, but I happened to have work being done on the house at the time. So the contractor went in and, you know, once you I don't even need to tell you, once a wild animal's inside your house, it's chaos. Oh, so we're chasing it around trying to get it out. So I missed raccoons, you're right. And I missed possums and frogs. I have to tell you, frogs creep me out. I can deal with snakes, but frogs and rats are the ones that absolutely creep me out.
Depending on the species of the frog. Recently I've had 2 calls of frogs coming out of a toilet in a second floor unit, and they're saying, how did the frogs get up here? Well, there's lots of different ways the frogs get up there.
Tell us, how would a frog get into a second floor toilet?
Well, a lot of times they'll either come up through the plumbing, through the stack. They'll come down through the stack and find their way up through a low toilet if the water is not being monitored in a unit, and they can come up, same as cockroaches and rats, can come up through a dry toilet. But then the particular one that I just did a couple of weeks ago, I said, it's not possible. It's, on the roof, but it's the dryer vents, because the state of Florida, the law says that they're not allowed to have the screens in the dryer vents because that's one of the number one hazards of fire. So they're required to remove them. And I said, well, if the frog's getting in there, they can't be getting into the dryer because the dryer vent's attached to the wall. Well, I went and did my investigation, and sure enough, the pipe wasn't even attached to the wall, and the woman was wondering why she was having allergies so bad. There was lint dust 2 inches behind her dryer. So we found the problem. I haven't heard from her since.
Let's get back to the frogs for a second. Is there, in a multifamily building, we're talking about a stack of units,
right?
Is it possible if somebody flushes something down, an animal, frog, a reptile, you name it, snake, it can pop up in another unit in that stack?
It normally doesn't happen that way. Usually they're pretty dedicated. Your stacks are normally dedicated to the unit. Now, if you have a lot of your multi-units will have a T-box down at the bottom of the trap where they're going across. If you've got, let's say, I've got one of 16 units, they got I call them T-boxes. There's another name for it, but, I'm just talking my terms. And they're just going to go down. The chances of them coming in a multifamily and going from one to another are slim to none. Okay. Has it happened? Absolutely.
I was going to say, that at least is reassuring. So if you've seen it all, but is there any one pest that kind of creeps you out, Dee?
No, I can't really say many do anymore. I mean, bed bugs are the kind of the grossest ones because they're just so hard to control. And, and they're easily transferred around because they're like the German roach. They're the gift bug, they've actually have to be brought in. They don't fly. They're actually transferred in. They're the gift bug.
So I know that's a big issue in a lot of hotel rooms. I know I've read about it in cities like New York that had a huge bed bug problem in their hotel industry a few years back. In a multifamily building, like a high-rise condo, let's say they get in there. First of all, you said they have to be brought in. So somebody brings in a pillow from somewhere else that's infested?
Anything if you travel, you could go. I mean, back during the day, whenever they were very heavy here a few years back, I mean, we had monitors in our libraries because people would take library books home and then bed bugs would get in their libraries. We had books going to a healthcare facility that the man never left, and it was an independent. He could come and go, but the man never left, yet he had bad bed bugs. Come to find out, him and ironically, 2 months later, another resident were actually getting books from the same bookstore in New York City. That bookstore was shipping them bed bugs because for the life of us, we couldn't figure out how they were getting them. So that's one way to transfer bed bugs in a healthcare facility.
Oh, I never would have even imagined that, Dee. I'm a big fan of libraries and bookstores. So so they were in the books and then obviously spread in the unit.
And so all of the books that were being brought back from whoever would, check the books out, they had to be put into a quarantine before they could go back into the library. I mean, it was a big deal. So, I mean, it's like, I could tell you nightmare stories of bed bugs, and it's just crazy how they can actually travel throughout condominiums and multifamily living just through the walls.
So let's talk about this. We're releasing this episode around Halloween. Let's hear just how spooky bed bugs can get. First of all, how quickly do they spread? How do they spread? And how do you get rid of them?
Okay. There's several ways to get rid of them. There's a lot of people think that, first off, they think it's a nasty thing. It's not a nasty thing. It's like German roaches. They're not a nasty thing. Bed bugs are brought in. Years ago, we had chemicals that we were allowed to treat with. And these days, because of everybody being on the green, and our company is IPM. We start at the lowest threshold, work up. Well, we don't have the chemicals to keep them under control anymore. That's the first problem. So whenever they get into a building, what happens is they feed between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. That's their normal feeding time. So if you've got insomnia, you're good to go. You're never going to get bitten. But they'll actually get on your pillow. They'll get in the folds of your sheets, or where the mattress comes along and they got that little bitty where they sew it together. That's usually where you usually get them, in the box springs. Nobody looks at the box springs. So you'll get an infestation in no time at all. Next thing you know, you've got an infestation, and it can go on. And a lot of people are embarrassed. I mean, I had people going and buying, picking up couches off the side of the road, or Aunt Lucy gave them a bed. It was full of bed bugs. And, with the homeless population and everywhere, they'll take anything and sleep on it. So it all just evolved.
But you mentioned feed. What do they feed on, Dee?
Blood. They feed on people. They feed on human blood. You are their blood meal. Human is the blood meal.
So, do they feed on pets too? Dogs, cats?
They do feed on pets, unfortunately, and it's kind of sad. I actually was in a situation a few years back that literally I went in, and this woman had bed bugs so bad that her entire wall looked like somebody taking a shotgun and just shot and spattered blood everywhere. And then I went next door. Whenever you have a bad infestation like that, and I felt bad for the dog. I didn't feel bad for the homeowner because she knew better. She could have done something about it. I'm an animal lover, same as most people are. But so you feel bad for the animals, but then you feel bad for the neighbor because you have to do what's called the Hollywood squares. Anybody that's doing their due diligence to make sure you don't have bed bugs in a multi-condo, multi-family situation. You have to do, let's say you got multi-units around, you always do the Hollywood squares. You do 3 above, 1 on each side, and 3 below. This way because they will crawl through the walls.
So they will travel, but they can travel through concrete?
They can travel through, all right, in most of your multifamily, y'all do construction law, don't you also? You do construction as well. So the electrical wires, they're all run down one chase. So they're going to split off. I don't care. They're still going to find themselves an electrical chase to go through or a plumbing chase, and they can travel that way. And they're not very big. I mean, they're literally, just like the tip of a pen. And they're white. And so they go through all of their instar stages. So they have to go through their exoskeleton where they shed their stage to get, every time they get a blood meal, they go to their next stage. They have six stages, I think it is, 99% sure. So what they do is once they've become to that stage, then they land on you, they feed, and they get all filled up and they flop off. And that's how you can find them, because the blood spots, it looks like ink stains on your pillow or on your sheets. And with the older population here, and they travel a lot, going to Europe and other places, they bring them home. They don't know they have them. This particular case, I felt so bad because the one woman had them so bad in her place, they had literally gone through the wall into the other lady's place. I can't say their name. I could say it. Her name was Judy. But
Don't.
I didn't say her last
No
name.
names.
But they went through the wall, and this poor woman had no clue, and she was getting eaten alive. Some people never even get bit by them. It's crazy. Some people never get bit by bed bugs, and some people get just totally annihilated by them. So we wound up having to, do heat treatment in both of them units because they were so bad. And that means where you have to bring heating equipment in, they heat the room up, hold it to a certain temperature for several hours just to kill the bed bugs. And then you have to pull all the carpet out if there's any carpet. You got to get underneath the baseboards, take all the switch plate covers off, treat inside the walls.
Oh my God.
And it's a huge
This sounds
ordeal.
more intense than termite treatment.
Well, put it this way. It takes 5 times the fumigant to kill a bed bug as it does to kill a termite, and a termite is inside the wood.
Wow. I am actually getting hives and feeling itchy as I'm listening to you describe bed bug infestation. I'm wondering if some of our listeners are going to as well. But so if I'm understanding you correctly, Dee, one, they're very, very tiny and white, but they are visible to the naked eye.
That's their egg stage. That's whenever they're first instar. They look like a tick. They look like a tick. They're very visible. I mean, they're the size of, goodness gracious, but they're the end of a pencil eraser.
Oh, that's okay. So that's very visible.
Oh yeah, and they're fast. Them little rascals are fast. And all you need, and you have to tell, the female has a rounded bottom and the male has a pointed bottom. So, if you want to take the time to identify them, I always keep scopes with me. I always keep 2 or 3 little microscopes and handheld scopes with me so I can identify in the field.
I'm not sure I'd want to spend time identifying as opposed to just obliterating, but if I'm also hearing you, it would be very difficult for a homeowner to self-treat for once the bed bugs have taken hold for them to try to address this issue.
Oh yeah, they go to the big box store and they buy the little bed bug bomb and they go in and they put the bed bug bomb off, and you know what they've done?
What have they done?
They push them rascals right into the walls. They push them deeper, and then you wind up getting a bigger issue, and it becomes very challenging. We're very successful at getting rid of them. We actually, Princeton actually has a section there called, it's actually at Princeton, it's Bedbug University. We sent one of our top technicians to Bedbug University for a week to learn about what to do and techniques during the big heyday of the bedbug situation. And we were doing liquid and powder treatment over the heat treatment, and we were more successful. And that's exactly what they were doing at Princeton. So we just decided it works. Fortunately, fast forward 10 years, it's really reduced. The population of bed bugs has reduced probably 90%. So
I was going to ask you, you're dealing with Princeton. I'm wondering why they can't just do some sort of gene splicing like they've done with other pests where you render the population sterile over time so it doesn't continue.
They haven't figured that one out yet. Because there are so many and they come from all different countries. They're worldwide. It is a worldwide pest.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that, Dee. So right now, do you know which areas of the world have a bigger bed bug problem right now?
I do not. I'd say Europe has always been the highest. Europe has always been a hot spot because they really don't think much about it. They just deal with it as part of it. However, United States and in Ohio, I'm not going to say where at in Ohio, but back in the day, it was the bed bug capital of the United States. I was like, oh my goodness. So I'd talk to people. I'd say, well, I know what you got.
Dee, I travel quite a bit. I travel a lot to Europe. Actually, I have a trip planned, I think, in May. Should I be asking hotels what their bed bug policy is? I mean, how concerned about this do we need to be?
Nah, I'd be really concerned. I actually have written articles on this. I've actually been, I've published, I teach classes on this, but it's more of a fear thing that people try to do, something that I figured out. And because I have what's called a CSI kit, that a company that I work with here in Sarasota, they actually developed it, which is forensic glasses, and it's got everything, and I can find blood. I mean, I've actually gone to Tallahassee to do the Wednesday lobby day, and I was staying at a hotel downtown in Tallahassee. You never know what you're going to find, so I got my CSI kit out, and I'm all excited. I'm looking for something. I couldn't find anything. I couldn't even find, all I found was one little drop of urine in the toilet. I'm like, wow, this is a clean hotel. So
Wow.
I told them, and they said, you want us to publish that? I said, no, you want to publish that.
Dee, be honest. Have you ever broken out the CSI kit when you've been a house guest at a friend's?
Only once. And I had to, and I didn't spend the night there. That's all I'm going to say. But
I'm listening to you thinking you make a great house guest. You get that kit out and start looking around.
every hotel has one thing. What is that? Every hotel usually has two things. One of them is what?
Well,
A
they normally have the emergency exit map
they have
back of the door.
They have a hairdryer.
Oh, that's true.
Next time you go to a hotel, all you got to do is pull your covers back by your headboard, get that hair dryer, turn it on real hot, and run it around the headboard and around the top of the mattress. And if a good hotel, they have mattress encasements on, and they have bed bug encasements on, which protect you so bed bugs can't get out and they can't survive. So, but you take that hair dryer and bed bugs will move if there's anything on there. So that's your secret. And always put your luggage in the bathtub. Never put it on the bed or on that little fold out thing until you've inspected the room.
Oh my gosh, Dee, you have just, I'm never going to forget. So put the luggage in the bathtub. Why am I putting my luggage in the bathtub?
They can't climb in the bathtub. They can't climb out of the bathtub. They can't live in the bathtub. They can't climb out. So until you do your inspection, you make sure you do that. And if you were on a long flight, take that hair dryer and also heat the bottom of your wheels on your luggage and make sure you had no hitchhikers, and you're good to go.
Wow. Okay. You've added to my to-do list when I travel, but okay, I do appreciate those are really, really useful tips. Okay, I'm going to spread that. We've talked about bed bugs. I will tell you, I have situations, the title of the podcast is Take It to the Board. We have an emphasis on community association lifestyle. I've had situations where, quite a few over the years, where we have hoarders in units, and it's a mental health issue. We had an expert on a couple seasons ago talking about how to address a hoarding situation, how to clean out a unit. But until it gets to that point, and often it's people living alone, and it's a sad situation overall. But again, I've seen it time and time again, where once it becomes known and you get in there, it's a really bad situation. And normally we're dealing with a number of different pest infestations. Have you dealt with hoarding?
Absolutely. I've been dealing with that for 38 years, since I got into this business in 1987. I dealt with my first one, and back in the day, we could say, I'm not going in there. That's not healthy. It's not for my safety. And we can still kind of get away with some of it now, but being in what we do at NatureZone, our guys are all trained and we do all this stuff that we actually, if a technician has a problem going in a unit, they'll call me or they'll call upper management, and we'll go in and we'll work with them, because it is, like you said, mental illness. And it's very, very scary and very dangerous for everybody, because you get somebody that has a bad infestation, and like you said, you never know what you got. American roaches, German roaches, rats, anything. It's a health hazard more than anything. So,
and also it's a hazard for your employees, because sometimes, as I said, the same person who's hoarding feels very connected emotionally to the mess, to everything, to the food that's rotting on the counters. And you don't know if that person is potentially armed and dangerous. So we've had to go, listen, that's where you get your lawyer involved, and that's where we get that's where we get an injunction. And again, it's a real balancing act, because it's sad and you are dealing with normally with a very vulnerable person, but it helps if you've got emergency contact information for all your owners, and that way you can kind of get family involved and see if they can be part of the solution. From your perspective, have you ever had that go into a unit in like a hazmat suit?
Oh, gosh, yes. Oh, heck yeah. I've gone and I've suited up, and with a full respirator and everything. Because whenever you're going in and there's maggots and there's cockroaches and there's just everything, that particular one, there was no rats, believe it or not, but there was so much just decaying food. And I just told him, I said, I can't go in there. I literally just put on Tyvek and respirator and gloves and went in, and all you could do is do a knockdown. That particular patient was actually institutionalized because they could not live on their own anymore. And then you have to get the people in to come in and clean it up. And then that's where you find people that are in the business. That's what they do. So it becomes very expensive and costly for the association.
Yeah, like my prior guest, we actually had to take a unit down to the studs for that reason. All the flooring ripped up, all the wall coverings, everything down to the white cement box.
Right.
Because of the hoarding situation. I would imagine from what you're telling me, a lot of these animals, a lot of these pests will feed on human flesh. So it's not compatible with human life to be living in a unit or a home with that, coexisting with that level of pest infestation.
Well, I think it was back in I want to say the 80s in New York. Here we go in New York. Poor New Yorkers. But there was this family. And they had these little kids, and the kids had no eyebrows and no eyelashes. And they were trying to figure out, they thought the parents were abusing them. So they brought the health people in, the HR, whatever they're called, child protective services in. Kind of find out they had such an infestation of roaches. The roaches were literally eating these little kids' eyebrows and eyelashes and they actually will eat your skin tissue. They had so many. Just nibbling on these poor kids when they were sleeping at nighttime. It's a real thing.
I'm so glad I had you on for our Halloween episode, Dee. You really are delivering, I have to say. Let's change gears because we've been talking a lot about infestation in vertical construction, in multifamily buildings, where you're on top of each other, and what your neighbor does, as we've just been discussing, very much influences and impacts your unit and your home and your family. Let's talk about homeowners associations. I live in an HOA. I have a single family home. I do remember I had a neighbor who was treated, I think, twice for termites, and eventually I got them too. So that's what happens, right? Drywood termites, they fly.
Well, that's a fallacy sometime.
Oh, okay.
I have a saying, you got the houses that have termites and the houses that are going to have them. There's never a house that's not going to get them one time in your life. Either going to get it in a piece of furniture. Back at the turn of the last big recession, when was that, 2007 or 8, a batch of high-end furniture grade wood got brought, furniture grade plywood got brought into the States, and it wasn't properly treated. Well, then fast forward a few years later, we have a pandemic. So then a lot of that wood, some cabinets still sat around, So what happened is it takes 4 to 6 years before you even know you have a drywood termite. They've already been in the wood for 4 to 6 years. I have structures that are 100 years old and never get a termite in them. But then I'll have a structure that's, 5 years old and it's ate up, and it's just because of the wood. Our wood is not treated, and it's actually not grown the way it used to be. So whenever you have your neighbor's house that had to be treated, they might have had a situation. It doesn't mean that termites left there and went to your house. Drywood termite colonies are very small. If you take an 8x10 piece of paper, a drywood termite colony is usually 30 to 300. They're not the ones that really scare me. They're not going to, it takes 20 plus years to be in a structure before they cause structural damage. So, you have time. Usually when you see the little pellets that look like coffee grounds, that's your warning sign. I better call somebody. When you see the wings in the windows, and that means you're swarmers. That means when they're swarming, they've been there 4 to 6 years. It is time for them to fly out, find them a mate. They have this big old party, as I call it, a big old orgy. They got to hook up, find some place to get into within 24 hours and start their new colony. And that new colony, it's going to take 4 to 6 years before you even know if you have them either, in that area. So, but the survival rate is very small. So when just because you got them at your house, it was just your luck of the draw. Nine out of 10, they're either going to come in through furniture being brought in, through white wood, white wood, which is soft wood. They love that. They usually fly in through a soffit because they come in through an attic and then they get their way in. But it doesn't always mean you have to have fumigation.
Is it true, Dee, that you shouldn't leave wood piled up around your house? Or I remember, actually, I think my neighbor had an untreated wooden shed, like a wooden fence.
Right.
Is it true that you should be mindful of the type of wood products you have sitting around your house?
Oh, absolutely. You should always keep, A, should be pressure treated. B, nothing should ever be touching your house.
Okay.
And, I have a saying, if it's green and touching your house, you need to get it off of your house. And then you should never stack wood, because the wood stacked, not only can it cause subterranean termites, which is underground termites, them are a different rascal all in themselves, which I'd like to talk about that one if we could. But they also cause cockroaches, ants, crickets, you name it. If it's wet there and it's getting rained on, anything can live in that wood. Snakes, spiders, widows, they're all there. That's a haven for them. So you want to keep everything away from your house.
So let's talk, and you're saying this to somebody who loves her climbing vine that's so pretty on my porte cochere, but yes, it's green and it's all touching my stucco. It makes a beautiful.
You can have your vine if you do proactive treatments around the outside. There's so many great chemicals out there, and our chemicals today are 100 times better than what we had 30 years ago. I mean, our chemicals today, we use repellents, we use natural products that you can use yourself to treat at the base of your vine. If you've got just a regular ivy vine that's growing up, and if it doesn't have flowers on it, you don't have to worry about bees. But if it has flowers, you just have to worry, you're going to have ants, because the ants are going to go. Ants protect the aphids. The aphids, it's all the food chain, how they do it.
Well, you mentioned better products. Do you mean less toxic, more effective, or both?
Both. It's more effective. Our products today are so much more effective than what we had 30 years ago. And the people that are testing it, they're spending millions and millions of dollars, because it's no different. Everybody wants to be the top dog in town. And where we had back in the day, I was using diazinon and Durazban, and heck, my grandpa was in this business in the 50s and 60s here, and he was using chlordane, DDT. So it's all gone down the
those sound very dangerous, Dee.
Well, you know what made them dangerous? They became available to John Q. Public. If John Q. Public had not been able to get his hands on a lot of these products, we'd probably still have access to some of them today. But what happens is malathion is a product you can buy. It's a great product. It's actually, believe it or not, it stinks to high heaven, but the label says 1 tablespoon per gallon. Well, my daddy, rest his soul, he used to say, I'm going to put 3 tablespoons in that, and I'm going to kill every damn ant in the house. And I said, you ain't going to have no neighbors either. And he did not have any ants. But that's what happens. It says one tablespoon per gallon, you use 1 tablespoon per gallon. Right. People just abused it. Now, our products today, oh my gosh, we've got eco granulars, we've got Essentra G, we've got IC, we've got all of these products that are just so, the LD50, lethal dose 50 is just awesome. You don't have to worry about hurting people or hurting, the environment, and properly applied. IPM, integrated pest management, which is, what we practice, always start at your lowest threshold and work your way up. And the products are made to last longer. We can spray something now and it's got a microencapsulated product, can last for 5 to 7 months in the proper application.
Well, you've gotten into a topic that really I wanted to dig into, because in a lot of our communities, we've got people who are sensitive to chemicals, and they say, I don't want any pest control inside my unit or inside my home. Let's say it's an attached townhome situation. And that does become a problem, because it becomes a problem if that unit or that home is not treated and they're not properly treating their potential pest infestation. It's going to spread. But on the other hand, if the association ignores that and says we're treating anyhow, they leave themselves open to a claim that the person has become ill as a result of the association's pest control services. I've dealt with that a lot. So if I'm hearing you correctly, do you have specific green products that you can say this is tested. We can use this in your instance for a very sensitive owner.
Absolutely. And also, if you also are on the do not spray, you got to pay I think it's still $15 a year. And it's state of Florida. I mean, if you actually truly are sensitive, you're supposed to register, pay the $15. And once you're registered, obviously, you know this, you pay the $15, you're registered. Every pest control company that does business in that area is supposed to be notified. And then if I go apply a pesticide, we had a lady here in Sarasota. She's long passed, but I talk about her in my class that I've written and taught. And she has been a thorn in everybody's side for years. But what happens is if I don't abide by that law, that is a law that I am not allowed to spray any pesticide within so many feet of this person, then we can get fined. But we also use monitors. We use Cymexa, which is pharmaceutical grade silica gel. That's how we actually discovered that we can fight termites and bed bugs with that. And it's just a natural desiccant. Take off a switch plate, put that in a wall. I recently had a situation where a woman is swearing that gel baits, GEL baits, are causing her problems. It's impossible. It's impossible for it to happen, but it's her psychological thought plan that says I'm allergic to this, so we can't even go in there and use a gel bait. There, we did a bunch of monitors, which are little glue boards. We put them out. We put the date on them. We go back in a few days and see if we have anything. And 99% of the time, it's really nothing there, but we still have to go there. And in our business, if someone says they have a roach problem, and we use it actually every day in regular pest control, where I actually put a glue board out, and if I see a cockroach is facing one direction and they're different ages, I know that I've got a population, I've got a mixed population within 10 to 30 feet. So I go that direction and find out where they're at. There is a science to it. And so once I find out where they're
learning that, Dee, from listening to you, I'm learning that it's more than just a random, palmetto bug crawling across the floor. It's an indicator of, like you said, a population. But as a layperson, we wouldn't know that.
Right. And that's why I love what I do. I haven't been to work in years and years. I just have too much fun because they're doing DNA testing on insects now. We're finding, we got these termites that they're doing DNA testing, ants. It's just so exciting. And we're learning more about all of the insect population. And it's just the University of Florida, IFAS. They're awesome. They're a great hub of information. But to know that we're developing chemicals that are very low in any toxicity, but they know that they like this flavor. It's like ants, ants' DNA. I was told this, and I probably shouldn't repeat it, but it's not. I haven't truly 100% proven it, but I was told this by an ant guru that an ant's DNA is like 65% of a human being. But if you think of their habits and their patterns, they actually do just like us. In the wintertime, what do I want? I want carbohydrates. I want beef stew. I want comfort food. And in the summertime, I just want to grab a potato chip or have some candy bar and go on my merry way. And the ants actually eat that way. So the baits are actually developed and made for their appetite. Except, OptiGuard is an ant bait that they came out with that had the carbohydrate, the protein, and the sweet all in one. And it's awesome. It's a great ant bait.
So I'm still trying to let the concept of an ant guru sink in. I love the passion you have for what you do because it's obvious that you love what you do. And you're right. You're not working when you're doing what you love. So that gets me into another interesting question, which is, should we be killing these insects? Is it something where we'll ever get to a point where we can just not the bed bugs, because they're actually feeding on us, but ants who aren't really insects that aren't doing structural damage or damage to us as humans? Should we try to coexist? I'm thinking of any Buddhists out there who are going to listen to this episode and say maybe we shouldn't be killing things. What do you think?
We have to control the population. The same as the human population evolves, the insect world and the pest world has to evolve the way, because otherwise they would take over. You have to understand, we reproduce 9 months, 9.5 months. They reproduced thousands in a week, or a week or 30 days or 90 days. So you have to think about the different populations. So if you don't control that population, if we destroyed every insect on the face of the earth, years ago there was a test done on an island. They annihilated everything on this island. Everything was gone. I mean, I don't know what the heck they put down, but it was like napalm, and they just killed everything. 2 weeks later, guess what came up out of the ground?
What?
Cockroaches.
The
cockroach has been on the earth for over 250 billion years. I mean, that's the one that grosses me out. Cockroach grosses me out. Has always, ever since I've been a little kid. They're just nasty. And I don't know what purpose they have on the earth is other than to get squished. But
listen, Dee, just so you know, I have no problem being a soldier in the army to control insects. I'm there. I mean, I don't have a problem controlling the population because I agree with you. Cockroaches gross me out, especially the big ones that fly around.
Right. And that's your American cockroach. And then, everybody calls them palmetto bugs in Florida. And you know how that came about. I
do not. But is this something to do with the palmetto plant?
No, it actually, we call them palmetto trees, but the palmetto bug, what happened in the 60s, down here in beautiful Florida, everybody wanted to come down here. But in the 60s to have a cockroach was nasty. Ooh, you're nasty. We don't want to stay at that place. They're nasty. Well, hello, it was the woods back then. Well, some genius person said, oh, honey, they're not cockroaches, they're palmetto bugs. And it stuck.
Marketing. You're talking about marketing.
Yes. And the palmetto bug actually it doesn't fly. It doesn't have developed wings, and it's broad. And when you step on it, it stinks to high heaven. And it's just basically, it lives in the palmetto trees and out in the palmetto scrub. So they really don't, they live in rodent bait stations, but most people have never seen one. The roaches that y'all see are, we probably shouldn't tell this, but they're actually American cockroaches or Oriental cockroaches, and they fly and they'll get in your hair and they drive you crazy and you beat the hell out of your head trying to get them out of your hair. But
I've never had. Now you're raising new levels of nightmares. No, they get in people's hair. I've never seen that.
Open your door if your light is on at nighttime and it's a hot, steamy night and you got trees around your house. Don't be surprised if you have a cockroach fly in your house. They fly by like a 47, and then you're like, where'd that roach come from? And if you have a cat, you're lucky because cats always love chasing them down and killing them.
I have a cat named Talia, and indeed she does.
She brings you prizes. So you see, you don't have to worry about it. But that's pest control 101. Your cat's earning her keep.
Well, let me talk to you about the plant material because I wanted, remember, now we're still in the homeowners association, and I do want to talk about subterranean termites in a second. But first, let's talk about the plant material. So there's different types of trees. There's the royal palm, but then there's those other little trees that I was told, palms, that really are attractive to rats. So it would be important, right, for a homeowners association to maybe create some guardrails around the plant material that's installed because some is going to be more attractive to rats and other pests, correct?
Well, the palmetto trees or I guess they call them cabbage palms or palmettos. They're the ones that had the boots on them. Mm-hmm. And in them boots, if they don't shave the boots, that's where cockroaches live and rats live. I mean, I've seen tons and tons of rats. I had a community down in Venice. They didn't ever want any rodent control until they started cutting their cabbage palms. And the president called me and said, you need to get over here now. I just counted 30 rats flying out of a cabbage tree whenever they were trimming it. So they cut all their cabbage palms away from their building. But you have to understand, a rat can jump. They can jump down 8 feet. They can jump up 2 or 3 feet. So they don't really, if they can get out there on it, they can sail across and they're on your building.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh. What about communities that have a lot of bodies of water, lakes and canals?
Rats.
Do they also attract rats and mice?
They attract rats. They attract rats. We have 3 rats in this area of Florida. We don't have like Central Florida where we are in Sarasota, Tampa market, down south, Fort Myers. We don't have but like 3 species of rats. We have the roof rat, we have the house mouse, and we have the field mouse. We don't have the Norway rat. We don't have all them big things that they have in New York that, you carry 2 cups to go in with backup because they're so big. And the largest and the rattus, which is your roof rat, it's also known as the black rat, the sewer rat, the tree rat, the fruit rat. It's all one rat.
What about the pizza rat in New York City? Did you ever see the pizza rat? I'm joking. Did you ever see the meme about the pizza rat in the subway?
No, I didn't, but I've seen cop go in with his gun pulled whenever there was one in the subway.
After this episode, look up Pizza Rat New York. It's a rat that made a big splash in New York City, riding around with a piece of pizza in its mouth.
Oh, Ratatouille. They named him Ratatouille, right? Anyway, so back to the rat before I go down a rabbit hole. The rat, she starts breeding at 3 months of age, the roof rat.
Okay.
So gestation is 22 days.
Oh my God.
So in 22 days, she can have 6 to 12 pups. 2 days after she has them pups, she can get pregnant again. So an adult breeding pair of roof rats can have an offspring of up to 1,500 in a year. So whenever you have that kind of population, everybody says, oh, I've got mice. You don't have mice, baby. You got baby rats is what you have. And so when you're trapping them, I say to our guys, and I know I'm a farm girl. I'm raised on a 240-acre working farm. So I'm a farm girl. Lord only knows what's going to come out of my mouth. I said, did you sex it? And they're like, what, Dee? And I'm like, did you see if it's got any male junk or female junk? How do I know? And I'm like, oh, my gosh. Just if it's a female, she's going to have teats. Just if she has teats and she's fat, if she does, look for pups because you're going to have, you're going to be looking for babies. If it's a male, sorry for your luck, pal.
Wait, Dee. How is somebody supposed to? Now, I'm a city girl. I was born in Chicago. Am I supposed to grab the rat and turn it over and look?
Well, whenever we've trapped them, or if they're dead, we pick them up. You pick them up with a glove, and you look at them, and you see if they got, I've seen some big old boar rats in my life.
I see you have skills I will never have. But okay, please tell us more.
Right. So, and it's important because if it's a male, sorry for your luck, pal, you're not going to be reproducing anymore. But if it's a female, she's dead. So now we need to start looking for her pups because, it's just no different than, everything nurses, dogs nurse, cats nurse. So you got to start looking and some of our guys, just go, I ain't looking at that crap, but I'm trying to train them to where they do it because it makes our job easier. And I know if it's a boy, sorry, but leave a rat trap out, leave a glue board out to monitor, to make sure that the coast is clear. There's nothing worse than a population of rats that have taken over, and them rascals are trouble.
I'm already having chills down my spine. But okay, we live in a home. Let's say we're on a canal or a lake. What do we do to make to rat proof our house?
First off, you need to go around your house, and there's simple areas. The biggest 99% of the time, I have to laugh because I can go with my eyes closed. I've been doing it, but I like building things too. That's a hobby. But where the pitch, or you'll look at a gable, or you'll have a pitch of a front of a house. Well, then you'll have that hip roof that comes down. I call it where the gable and the hip come together, where the soffit is. 99% of the time, if you have a rat problem, look up there because they were too dadgum lazy to put the soffit all the way up in that little corner because they just ran out of soffit that day and nobody's going to know. That's why when you start hearing things in your attic, that's where they got in. Or you go over where your air conditioning chase is, where your air conditioning, where that little cage, that cover they put over your outside of your air conditioning, it's always open. Well, guess what? That goes straight up into your attic, into your water lines, into your electrical. Once they're up in there, boom. So you always check your soffit, you check your AC chase, you look around your house for any holes. I mean, rats dig, rats can burrow, and they will go up into a little hole under something. So you have to be careful, especially if you live in a house that's on a crawl space. Crawl space, that's another story in itself. That's always fun.
Where I grew up in Chicago, we had a crawl space.
Yeah. And
tell me, what are you going to find in a crawl space, Dee? I'm so afraid to ask that question.
I have a coworker that won't even go under a crawl space. I'm under there, and I'm like, dude, get out here and help me. He goes, his eyes are all big. Dee, I'm not going under there. I'm like, dude, get under here. And he's like, hell no. And I'm like, okay, fine. He just will not go under a crawl space because he's terrified. But there's roaches, there's rats, there's snakes, there's spiders. And the secret, people have asked me for years and years and years, Dee, how do you do it? how do you go in attics? You know, because I've been in attics where there's this million cockroaches on the wall, and all of a sudden I hear the ch-ch-ch-ch. I'm like, crap, get out of there. But the secret to going under a crawl space in an attic is you don't think about what's there, because if you think about what's there, you're not going to go. I'll be in attics tomorrow morning.
Just do it is your slogan, like Nike.
You just do it and you don't think about it, because if you think about it, I've been face to face with a mad old mama raccoon and three kits in an attic. That is not fun. I have backed out very slowly, step away from the raccoon, because she will tear you up.
I think I have a critter who comes on my patio because it knocks over. I have, my whole patio is open, and we live on a golf course, and I have, vases, orchids, and it keeps knocking over this one orchid. So on top of a table. So I think I have a critter that's hopping up there. I don't leave any food out. I know that's a bad thing, but I'm thinking I have a raccoon or
put a little camera out. They got these cute little cameras. They're called WYZE. They're so cute. You can literally, it's all, and we use them in attics when we're trying to find out what's in an attic sometime, because sometimes we can't find the creature. So we'll put these little cameras in there, and it's all hooked up to Wi-Fi. And we actually we'll get a trigger if it sets the camera off, and we can actually find out what we're dealing with. And that's fun. It's kind of like a game camera, but they're just really nice, and they're all Wi-Fi, and
I can see how that would be fun for you and not so fun for me. Dee, let me ask you, I've always wanted to install a bird feeder, and I know in a lot of our communities they have a community bird feeder. To me, though, I've always been afraid that I'm going to look out there and see some fat rat in my bird feeder. Is that a legitimate concern?
Absolutely, 100% you will.
Oh, okay, no bird feeder.
Well, my sister has one, but she has it on the other side of her fence. She's in an HOA, but she has it on the outside of her fence on the community property near the canal. And I've looked out there many times, and I see a big old fat rat, and I just want to go pop it. But she has a big old fat rat that'll go by, and then the cat goes and the cat chases it. So whatever. But yeah, they are nothing. And especially in healthcare, like, in the hospice houses, people, that's what they want to look at. But then they wonder why I don't know why we have rats. And it's because they, bless their hearts, people in healthcare, they're lonely. They want to look out the window and see the pretty bird.
Right.
But you've got to choose your battles, choose your battles and choose them wisely. Some of my people put out, hate to say it, they put out rodent bait stations out by their house. So the rat will go and eat that, and you keep the rat population down, and you still get to enjoy your bird feeders.
Okay, that's one option. Yeah, I know you like to give options. What about bees? In some of our homes, we've got, hornets' nests, wasps, and bees. Do you also deal with those kind of
all the time, deal with them. I personally will tell you right now, unless you show me an EpiPen and a letter from a doctor that says you're allergic to bees, I'm not going to kill a bee. A wasp, yes, I'll kill a wasp. A honeybee, I will not kill it. I refuse to. We have beekeepers that we recommend, that we work with very closely. They go in and they take care of it. I'm
happy to hear that. And my experience is, because I have a lot of flowers at the house, they don't really disturb you, the bees.
They're not bothering anything. They're not bothering you. Even the wasps. I mean, if a wasp is not bothering me or bothering you, why should I kill it? But if it's a nuisance, then, you're walking along and you get binged. Oh, yeah, sorry, dude, you got to go. But everything is a pollinator. I mean, heck, if it flies and moves, it's a pollinator. But technically, the wasps, they're dangerous. That's my next thing that I'm working on is bees and stinging insects, because there is a health issue with it, and people are allergic. I'm personally allergic to yellow jackets, but am I going to kill everyone I see? Well, probably, but not unless it's bothering. If it's bothering me, I'm going to kill it. But we got one of the largest populations of yellow jackets ever found in this area by Ringling School of Art years ago. It was the size probably 6 foot. It was 6 foot, and it was a yellow jacket nest in the ground under azalea trees by an oak tree. And it was
a 6 foot nest.
It was a 6 foot nest. It was yellow jackets. And one of the maintenance guys, he had his little raggedy truck that he was driving, and it was rattling. Well, he was sitting there. I don't know what he was doing. He was probably looking at his schedule. What he was supposed to do is early in the morning, and all of a sudden the truck was rattling. It agitated the yellow jackets. They flew into the truck, stung his head 127 times. They called me out. I was in Tampa. They called me. I came down, and I'm standing there, and I got binged a couple of times. I'm like, oh, heck no, this is too big for even me. So we brought somebody else in, and literally they said it was the largest one they had ever found in the area. I mean, it was massive. So, I mean, it just goes to show you that they get under bushes and under trees, and if you see them coming out of the ground, use caution, because yellow jackets are probably one of the most aggressive. They're even more aggressive than hornets, in my opinion. And they are nasty creatures, and they will sting multiple times.
Yeah, I mean, I think you need to stay on top of it. By the way, I hope your colleague survived that attack.
Oh, he did. He had to go to the hospital. He was in the hospital for 2 days.
Oh boy!
But it was just. But it's a serious situation, and honeybees can be just as aggressive if you bother them. But if you don't bother honeybees, you call a specialist. They're going to come in. They're going to relocate them. They're going to
relocate them. Yeah.
And unless you should. Many times I've had someone say, "Oh, I'm allergic," and I'm like. And I know it sounds cold and callous, but after been doing this for 100 years, how many times were you stung before you found out you were allergic? Oh, I've never been stung. My doctor said I was allergic. I'm like, then just go away. Because, everybody's allergic. Everybody's allergic to fire. And you get stung by a fire ant, you're going to get a little blister,
Well, yeah, I mean, I think there's a toxin, so you will have an inflammatory response. But listen, there are people who are deathly allergic to stinging insects, and I assume they know that. That's why they carry the EpiPen with them.
And when it comes to life safety, there is no excuse. You got to go there. If someone tells me this is a matter of life safety, Dee, I'm gone. I'm on it. I'm going to go kill whatever I have to kill, because that's part of it.
Yeah.
But I'm not just going to just go kill something just because you're telling me, I'll go stew it away. I'm not killing everything.
I understand that, and I appreciate that. I did want to give you an opportunity to talk about those subterranean termites, because they are different than drywood, correct?
Oh yeah, we've got a new hybrid termite, folks, and it's down there by your area. Actually, it's the Formosan subterranean termite, which worked her way up into this area of Florida, up in actually all the way up to Tampa. It's a huge bad problem in Tampa. It's a big termite that actually is brown, and it looks like a drywood termite, and has been misdiagnosed and misidentified as a drywood termite. Well, they finally figured it out. I spent 3 years looking for one down here to get my name on it, but I never found it. So I didn't get that. But anyway.
But this is Formosan. You said the Formosan?
But then the Asian subterranean termite came into the picture. Well, back in 2021, I'm actually doing a talk on this Friday. Then 2021, they discovered, the University of Florida, that they were seeing a similarity of swarmers, which is whenever they come and they swarm and they're ready to go find their mates. They captured some and found out, because the University of Florida is always doing DNA testing on stuff, they literally did a test and found out that the Asian subterranean termite and the Formosan subterranean termite are actually breeding and have developed a hybrid termite.
Oh,
and they haven't named it yet. So this is huge, because they're really big time in Fort Lauderdale area, Fort Myers, and working their way up to this part of Florida. So this is something that we're really watching closely, because we're talking the Eastern subterranean termite, the little black ones, they're destructive as heck. Them little rascals, they'll tear crap up. These guys, the same piece of paper I told you about with the drywood's 30 to 300, you're talking 300,000 to 3 million in that same 8x10 piece of paper. So we're talking eating machines that.
What do they eat, Dee? So what? Drywood, it's clear they eat wood. What do the subs eat?
Subterraneans eat wood, but they eat massive amounts of it. They go up. It takes a 32nd of an inch, a credit card thickness, for them to get in. Now, a few years back, you heard about the super termite that was eating the concrete. They weren't eating concrete. They don't eat concrete. That's the news media for you. They actually, if it's soft or if it's damaged, they can go through stuff. But they love cellulose. They love wood. They don't care. They're actually finding that them rascals are getting in pressure treated wood. We're talking something that I'm a huge fan, if I may say. Sentricon is something that we are, one of the 9 representatives south of the Skyway. I am a huge fan of that because it does, and there are other products out there that are baits that will kill subterranean termites. You must bait these guys and kill them. You can use trench and drench methods where you dig around a structure and dump thousands of gallons of chemicals, which I'm not a fan of. But if you have to, you do what you have to do to kill them. But it is important to have something protecting your structure. After all the hurricanes last year, we don't have anything protecting. There was so much water that just stood for days and days that washed away any protection you had in the ground around your structure, around your condos, around your homes. It's basically gone.
Ooh, that's a really good point, Dee. So
Yes.
let me ask you, are you working with any developers? Are you finding developers that from inception are creating these kind of barriers to prevent a subterranean infestation?
They're still doing the slab treat. It's been since the beginning of time, since construction that I can remember. So I've been doing this. They slab treat. You treat the slab. You put thousands of gallons of chemicals on top of the dirt. Then you cover it up with plastic, and then you put the concrete on top of it. Now, because of the green, we are green. I do work with a lot of green hotels and green companies that we actually can put the Sentricon in after the final grade. Sentricon is going to, because the recruit bait is what the termites are attracted to. Back to, we're talking about the standing water where nothing was there. We had somebody talking about saying, oh, well, it affects Sentricon too. Well, actually, Dow AgriScience did a test, and I have the facts to prove it, that for 7 years, they tested it in salt water because saltwater intrusion is what people were saying was breaking down everything. The daggum termites love the saltwater soaked bait more than they love the regular bait. So it actually was a benefit. So all of the homes that had the Sentricon in place are still protected.
So it still was effective. It was still effective bait.
It's still effective. Up where I live up above Tampa in a little town called Bushnell. We have sandy clay, and it ain't nothing but subterranean termite heaven up there. I mean, in 2 months' time, I did a test, and a board was just annihilated with subterranean termites. I put Sentricon in, boom, gone. So I do tests up there on my own property because I can. But and it's fun to see what I can kill up there. That's another story. But so you have to protect your. My only saying for anybody that owns a condominium, a home, or anything, a mobile home, whatever, protect your investment because it's your largest investment. And if you don't protect it, you're going to regret it because it is very costly to go and fix your property if you get ate up by termites. That's the biggest problem.
Oh, I've known people that had to move out. I've known people that had to sell because of subterranean termites.
Right.
They sold. It was a fire sale for all intents and purposes because they just could not get rid of them. So you're absolutely right. It's great advice. I want to wrap up because you've been so generous with your time. You said you were a farm girl. Is that how you got excited about? I mean, is that how you got involved with pest control? And made this your life work, or how did you get into this industry, Dee?
No, my grandpa was in the business, like I said, in the 50s and 60s, and my grandpa, my dad. But then I was in another business for years before I got into this. But then I was bored one day, and I said, I want to do something different. So I did this, and then I got out of it, but I kept all my certifications up. And then I got back in it 18 years ago at NatureZone and never looked back. I've just been having too much fun. But when I started and I guess one of these days I might hang up my hat, but not until I get bored. If it's not fun, I don't want to do it.
Oh, I think that's great life advice across the board. You did tell me before we started taping that you had a nickname. What's the nickname?
Oh, the rat lady.
The rat, Karen. Is it because do the rats like have a picture of you with like a red slash through it? They know you.
On my business card, it took me 17 years to let the boss let me do it. It says your local hired killer, and my tagline is I'm Dee with NatureZone, your local hired killer. You just have to have more than 2 legs, though.
Well, we're only capturing the audio in this podcast, but I will tell our guests, Dee is a lovely, lovely looking lady. So, I mean, I don't think the hired killer that does her justice. So, Dee, last question, where can people find you?
They can find me at dee.smith at NatureZone, NatureZone.com. There's no E after nature.
That one almost tripped me up when I was first emailing you. Dee, thank you so much for joining us. And hopefully we won't get too many chills or people getting the itchies listening to some portions of this podcast episode.
Well, thank you so much for the invite, and I could tell fun stories all day long if y'all ever want some good ones. But
oh, I think we'll have you back. Maybe we'll make it an annual Halloween ritual. Dee, thanks again.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to follow and rate us on your favorite podcast platform, or visit takeittotheboard.com for more ways to connect.